Estás viendo Canal América, televisión dominicana para el mundo.
El tiempo para la verdad es patrocinado por la Clínica Dental Bernard Fialkoff DDS, con especialidades en implantes dentales, láser periodontal, cirugía cosmética. Visítanos en el 5603 de la 214 Street, Bayside, New York, con el teléfono 718-229-3838. Clínica Dental Bernard Fialkoff.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on, let your fears.
Welcome to A Time for Truth show. I'm your host, Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, and it's a pleasure to be back with you again today. You may be wondering why I have this covering on today, and that's to celebrate in honor of my good friends. Over the last few weeks, have put on many different events that have to do with humanity, with human rights, with spirituality, with religious freedom, with freedom from bigotry, and with many positive aspects of life. And those happen to be Dr. Hong Sao-Si of FOPAL, Dr. Agarom DK of the Caribbean African Faith-Based Leadership, former Harlem Globetrotter, Robert Hunter, who established his group, United Churches for Human Rights, with Bishop Asen Phillips as its new installed president. So many positive events that have occurred in the last few weeks, some in New York, some in Washington. And today we will be celebrating the one that occurred in Washington, D.C. this September 29th. And Caribbean African Faith-Based Leadership at the Washington, D.C. Press Club. And we had the honor of having Dr. Felicia Bassey Akamune. And if you put her pictures up on the screen, I'd like our viewers to see Dr. Bassey, who not only is a pediatrician, but also quite a humanitarian, doing medical outreach across the globe. There you see her in the center. And there you see her with myself and Dr. Agarom DK, who was directing the Caribbean African Faith-Based Leadership event. Tremendous event with a presidential award being given out to many dignitaries, and including myself. So thank you, Caribbean African Faith-Based Leadership. There you see the honorees, and I was very happy to be able to participate with my good friends. And what we will do for you as a treat is we're going to have our event from Washington, D.C. that day and play it for you now so you can see what transpired during this great conference and conglomeration of so many world leaders from all across the globe. Lula, let's go ahead and show our viewers. Here we go. Welcome to A Time for Truth show. I'm your host, Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, and it's a pleasure to have you back with us again today. We're actually broadcasting from Washington, D.C., the nation's capital today, and we're very happy to be at the Caribbean African Faith-Based Leadership Global Conference put together by Dr. Agarom DK, who spent many, many hours getting world leaders from Africa, the Caribbean, and other parts of the world together to make a better world. And here we are. We're very happy this morning. I'm sitting next to a very special doctor, one who not only has her own private practice as you're a pediatrician, right?
Yes, sir.
As a pediatrician, but also as a humanitarian. And this is Dr. Felicia Bassey Akamune. And she is the founder of Milestone Medical Outreach. Welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. How are you this morning?
Very well.
Very good. And now, how is it that you came to be at this conference?
Well, I've been doing medical outreach since 2010 to Africa. I've been to Honduras, and I came in contact with Dr. Agorum in 2017, 2018, when I was planning one of the mission trips to Africa, to Nigeria and Sudan in particular.
Very nice. And so now, and you're a pediatrician. How many years are you doing that now?
This year is 20 years in private practice, and it's 33 years post-medical school.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, I'm curious. When you were a little girl, was your dream always to become a doctor?
Yes, actually, at 10 years of age, I wrote an essay that I was going to be a doctor, and everybody laughed at me because I was from a poor family, and everyone thought, well, how are you going to finance medical school? My oldest sister did nursing in England, so she returned back to Nigeria and took me to go live with her at 10 years of age. So from then, she's been responsible for my education up to medical school. Her name is retired Chief Nursing Officer Gloria Nkoyo Itwen.
Very interesting. Well, you know what? It's a story that I like to illuminate because in the world, so many times, people are very quick to tell us what we can't do, right?
Yes.
But yours is a story showing how you found someone who was supportive of you, and it's very interesting that I want to bring that point out because so many of us out there in the world, we want to do things and we say, well, people aren't in agreement with me, and we give up. And you didn't give up, and here you are now, 32 years later, you said, right?
33 years post-medical school.
Amazing. And,
Yes.
and you're a pediatrician. But not only did the doctor become a pediatrician, but she does this medical outreach. And so I'm just curious. So here you are, you have a practice, and I know as a doctor myself of 40 years, it's a very busy occupation. How do you have the time to do medical outreach?
Well, family support, goodwill, God's grace and good health, and determination and planning. That's how I've been able to do it. Because I raised a family. My kids were young when I started.
Yes.
I first started supporting mission work in 2002 because then I was raising little kids. I had 4 kids. So
Okay.
I support mission work with supply, blood pressure, machines, medications, funding. And then when my kids grew up and got into high school, I was now able to travel on my own and now have raised a mission team comprising of doctors, nurses, pharmacists, and volunteers, regular volunteers. We've even gone on a mission trip with an engineer.
Wow.
Yes,
This is amazing. It's like once your kids grew up,
yes.
then the program almost became like your 5th child.
Yes, because at this time I'm an empty nester. One is a doctor, the other, my stepdaughter is a nurse, and the 2 boys are finishing college now. So I have all the time in the world to plan for mission work.
Well, congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
And you're welcome. And you know what? As a mother of 4 kids, very successful kids, that to me, people talk about, well, how, I don't have any training, or, how am I going to do this? And, you had the perfect training because having 4 kids and
Yes.
having a profession, how did you do that? It's quite an undertaking.
Well, it's God's grace. I'm a firm believer in God's providence, God's grace.
Tell us a little bit about that, because you know what? The world, today's world, we're very advanced technologically, but it seems like we've lost something. And what you're just saying now, I want you to go into a little bit more, because I think we need to have more of this in the world. So tell us a little bit about it. What do you mean with God's grace? tell us a little bit about that, how you felt or what it was and what kept you going.
Well, I was raised in a Catholic charismatic family. My father raised us all on the bench of the charismatic church. And he and my mom, despite they had meager earnings, they still helped people in the family to go to school. Mm-hmm. So from young, I saw it being displayed, Christianity, the Christian faith, yes, extending a hand to people that have less than you. You might think you don't have any, but the little you have, you can still take out and share. And God will bless you more. It's in the Bible. You have to make room for more blessings. So the grace of God sustains you to do the things you want to do. And the providence, God will provide you with good health and the finance to do it. I have started the mission work based on the little I have. And a lot of my friends always ask me, where do you get all this money to travel and buy medications and go and do medical mission? But I keep meeting people all the time that help. Like I met you. Yes. I went for a conference for missionaries, and they introduced me to companies that will donate the medications. I just pay for the shipping, Americares. Wow. So from there, things just fell in place, and I just felt that, well, this is God's providence, because I never knew about Americares. I went to a conference, I met Americares. I went to a conference, I met Blessings International. Yes. So it's just God's providence. God will lead you where you need to go.
Very nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, I found the same thing in my life, that when I do good works, that you meet the people, yes, who are spiritual, who really not talk about religion, but exemplify in their actions. And to me, that's what we need in the world. There's not a lot of more rhetoric, but some real spirituality and action and, yes, movement. And, you know, I want to just, you know, congratulate you and, you know, for what you're doing. And so tell me, like, because you were mentioning that you go to different countries, right? And, yes, and tell us about some of the projects that you have going on right now.
I've done mission work all over the territories in Nigeria, yeah, Lagos, Cross River State, Delta State, mm-hmm, Nasarawa State, Ondo State, and I've supported mission work in other parts of Nigeria. Mm-hmm. Because my foundation, we do outreaches and we also support other foundations, mm-hmm, that need help. Then I've been to Sierra Leone. I just came back from Sierra Leone this year. I've been to Honduras. I support medical mission in Sudan, mm-hmm, Congo, Tanzania, and Kenya.
Interesting.
Yes.
I'm just curious. In Sierra Leone, there was a man who was a friend of mine, Fode Mansoure. Did you ever meet Fode Mansoure?
No, I met Pastor Mambu, who is here at this conference. Right. I did the mission in Sierra Leone with Moshidia, mm-hmm, Charities. They are a Muslim group, so yes, it is not just Christian based. I work also with Muslim groups, all religions. The need is there. The need is there. It has nothing to do with religion. Right. Yeah. So when I went to Moshidia, they invited me. So we shipped medications and stuff, and we did the mission. She also went to Bar and some other territories, and that was where I met Pastor Mambu in Sierra Leone to Dr. Dike, and I went and visited Chasel, the Christian Association clinic there, uh-huh, as well. So right now I have supplies, but we need funding to ship. Mm-hmm. And then right now also I'm building a free medical clinic in Cross River State, Nigeria, in the Delta areas where the occupation there is mainly fishing and farming. Yes. So I'm building a free medical clinic there. And then next to it, we've completed the clinic. We're now building the residencies where the missionaries can come and stay, mm-hmm, and do mission work in surrounding centers. We also have a staff building for doctors, nurses, and pharmacists to live and work in the clinic as well. And we're also building a coordinating center so that when we ship supplies in From there, we can now distribute to other community clinics, charities that need supplies and medications.
Very interesting. You know, I was just talking to another person at the conference here, Dr. Wally, and she has like vocational work. And what I was thinking that, you know, should definitely get the two of you together, because what you're doing with your outreach, one of the things that would be important for them is to also be empowered with education, with vocations, so that once you get them healthy and you help them with their health crises, that they could actually then have a job, get proper nutrition, provide a shelter, and all these things that are leading to all of this, you know, sickness and illness and, nutritional problem.
I will be very happy to work with her, because as a matter of fact, I was planning one of the areas to be a skills training center, yes, for the women and the young men as well, because unemployment is high.
Absolutely.
So I will be glad to partner with her, because I'm not experienced in that aspect, but it's something I really want to do, to empower them so they can acquire skills, do work, run their own business, small business.
Sure. Maybe what can happen is that in return, once they see that they've benefited from your programs, the both of you, the programs that you provided for them, then they would be willing to give back and actually support, because you're helping them. And that would be good, because, you know, I always find that when I exchange with someone who's helped me, I feel much better about it.
It's funny you said that, because even with the mission work that I've gone to in places, I found out that when they've benefited from the care, when I go back, even though I'm not in their community, they come all the way to help me with registration, with setting up and all that. Volunteers that I have treated before.
To give back.
Yes.
Yeah, they want to give back.
Yes.
It's an interesting thing. I find the same thing myself. Is if you give me too much and I don't do anything, I feel funny.
So now when I go to some local communities, because we've been doing this since 2010, our name is well known in the local communities.
Tell me the name
Africa.
again. Tell me the name.
Milestone Medical Outreach.
Milestone Medical Outreach.
Yeah, Dr. Bassey. Everybody knows me as Dr. Bassey.
Before we forget, how do they donate? So we get this on the video. How do they donate?
Please go to my website, www.milestonemedicaloutreach.org.
Very nice.
And click there, www.milestonemedicaloutreach.org.
Very good. If they want to contact you by email, because they have a question for you or they have an opportunity for you, what is your email? bmilestoneped@aol.com. B as in boy, M as in Mary, ILESTONE, P as in Paul, E as in Edward, D as in David. bmilestoneped@aol.com. Beautiful. Well, what I can tell you is, because I'm in charge of a drug education program in 22 languages, and it's our goal to provide the truth to different communities worldwide, Foundation for a Drug-Free World, because why is that, people don't have jobs, they don't have good nutrition because they don't have money to buy food, provide for themselves a shelter, and so they get very downtrodden, and they take drugs because they want to escape somehow, so the drugs are part of the problem. And what I wanted to let you know is that our group would be more than happy to offer you these materials, and so that you could provide them as part of your, your outreach to these facilities. Yeah.
That is very, very encouraging, and I thank you for that, because right now, as you mentioned, the frustration level is high in poor communities, and I have found over the years that there's now more drug use that was not there when I started mission work.
That's right.
Over the years, especially with the, I can't blame internet, but now a lot of these African communities are more exposed to the Western ways. So drug is now the consumption, the supply is down there, which wasn't there before. We were dealing more with diseases of poverty, chronic respiratory malnutrition, kwashiorkor, tuberculosis. Now we are actually adding drugs.
It's really a shame. It's in the world, it seems like somehow we're losing sight of the drug is really not a good thing. It's a poison.
It's a poison.
It's a poison.
They see it as a means of relaxation,
Right.
as a means of being hip, because they see it on TV.
That's right. It's amazing. So it's important to give them the truth so that they can avoid
Yes.
going down that path.
Yes,
Because,
yes.
unfortunately, once they're addicted, it seems like even the rehabilitation programs end up putting them on a different drug, methadone.
But and also the drugs now are harsher and harder, with more damage.
It's true. I always tell people, in high school, I had a friend of mine who was a great athlete, and the marijuana, because he smoked marijuana, back then was about 1 or 2% THC.
Mm-hmm.
And now you look, and what they consider mild today is at least 15%.
Yes, yes.
And it's 15% stronger.
Mhm.
He could never get off of it, and he was such an unbelievable football player. They offered him a full scholarship at an unbelievable football university, Ohio State.
Yes.
And he was so good that even though when they kicked him out the first semester for drug use, they told him, go to this junior college, and if you stay off the marijuana, we'll take you back with your full scholarship. And this is back on THC-1. He couldn't stop.
Now it's 15%.
And now it's 15%, and unbelievable. So we have a lot cut out for us.
Yes, yes. And I would like to invite you when I go on mission work, if you want to come and see. Yes.
Very nice. Well, it gives excuse to go to Africa, right?
Yes, yes, yes. And we'll take good care of you.
I'm sure you. Well, we were talking about that because I was curious, when you go to some of these areas, not just Africa, but really anywhere in the world. One time I went to Haiti, one time to Salvador, and I know that a few of the people in charge with me had to take a look at the area. So what happens when you go to these areas? Do you do any kind of evaluation, whether it's safe? Or?
Yes. First of all, most of the communities and the countries we go to, we are invited. Like right now, I'm preparing to go to Gambia.
Yeah.
Somebody local has to invite us.
Mhm.
Because that person will know the communities and where to go and where there's need.
Yes.
Because you don't necessarily want to go to a place that is an affluent neighborhood. We do have affluent neighborhoods in Africa. So we want to go to the really underserved populations. Our mission is to take healthcare to underserved populations. So the local person will tell us, this place is good to go, it's safe, we have to check the roads. Even though they by American standards, they're not motorable, but to us they are motorable,
Yes.
And then also kidnapping raids,
That's right.
conflicts, is there a war going on, a tribal war or a state war and all that. So we have to assess those things and problems with gangs. So because you as the mission coordinator, you're also responsible for the health and welfare of your volunteers. Because these are people that want to do good,
That's right.
but you have to protect them and keep them. So we go and set up and go to those areas that is safe. If there's an area that is not safe, we can bust them in.
Hmm.
We can bust them in. We do get some local donors that will say, okay, I'll transport people for free on such and such a day, and they will go and bring them in.
Yeah, well, I would think it's very important because you're taking all these people in with you, and we have to take a look at their safety and what's going to happen. So that's a very good point.
Yes, because also these volunteers have families.
Yes.
They are doctors, nurses,
Yes.
engineers, computer, pharmacists, so pastors. So we have to make sure we bring them back
That's right.
to their home countries safe.
Exactly right. Well, another interesting story that I have been told by various people who do outreach like you. One is the Globetrotter. He was here, the Harlem Globetrotter,
Yes,
Bobby
yes,
Hunter.
Yes.
And he would tell me that the Globetrotters sometimes would deliberately go into a war area. And I said, you're kidding me. He goes, no, we did. And you played the basketball games? Yes. And I said to him, what happened? He said, well, both sides liked us.
Mm-hmm.
So they came to the basketball game, they stopped the war, and they watched the basketball game. And I said, you're very amazing. The Globetrotters
Yes,
really
yes.
brought peace. He goes, absolutely. And I had another instance where someone that I knew went to Salvador. And in Salvador, they have this group called the Maras. The Maras are
Yeah.
the criminals that really control the country. They extort from the businesses and whatever. And if you don't do what they say, you reach unfortunate circumstances. So he told me that when he was speaking, that afterwards he asked his friend, who was from Salvador, where were these Maras you're talking about? You told me I was in a Mara area, but where were they? He goes, oh, they were there. So he said, they were there. And the person native to the country of Salvador says, yes, they saw that you were doing something good for the community.
Yes.
So you know what? They left you alone. And I said, what an interesting concept.
Yes,
that,
yes.
even these people who are so, you could say, terrorists or criminal, actually maybe are just looking for the help that people like you are bringing with the outreach.
Yes. The need is the same for everybody. The need is the same for everybody. And everybody has some good in them, no matter what. You just have to search
Find it.
to bring it out
That's
of
right.
them. Yes.
There's a story once said that someone said that if you had the worst criminal in a prison and no one wanted to go into that jail cell, that a man once went in and everybody thought he was going to get killed. And he went in and he said, I heard you could help me. And the criminal looked at him and was dumbfounded. He said, no one ever asked me before. Who do you want me to kill for you? And he became his friend because he said that he could help him. So, it's a funny story.
Yes, it is.
But, well, it's very interesting to be with you.
Thank you.
Let me ask you a question to end off the show on. With the world the way it is, what statement would you like to leave the viewers on what you feel needs to happen in the world?
I feel everybody needs to search themselves and bring out their good side. They need to be able to listen to each other so there'll be less conflict in the world. There need to be more women in leadership because women are negotiators. They put their ego aside, they talk a lot, and in the process they solve their problems. We need more women leaders because there'll be less conflict. We will talk, we will fight, but we're not going to kill each other. So that is one of the things. And then also, we need to reach out and help poor people in our communities and support those organizations that do the job as well. It's not easy. We need help as well.
And so there you see a little bit, a glimpse of what we covered that day in D.C. It was a tremendous day, so much activity, so much movement in a positive direction. And some important points to take home as we come to the end of our show are these. One is our women, our wives, our mothers. They're so important to the world. When you look at the global drug crisis, when you look at strife and violence and bigotry, if you really look at it, you'll see the importance of love in the home, of a structured family life. Because why have things gotten so out of control if we have so much technology? Well, very simple. If we get too materialistically oriented and we spend all our time with technology and working and hurrying about, no matter how much money is made or how many powerful positions we get, we're losing our humanity. We're losing our families. And if we lose our families, the crucible where our children are raised, educated, the fountain where they spring from into the future, we're going to lose our family structure, our community structure, our countries, our planet. So let's take heed of what Dr. Bassey said. Let's protect our women. Let's allow them to lead and not have our necks turned, but actually get there with them together It's much more enjoyable. So it's been a pleasure to have you on the show again today. And let's move forward into a positive future. Let's work together. Let's reestablish more normal time where we have time for our kids, where our mothers have time to be mothers. You know, if you really look at it, one of the highest positions that there are in the world, if not the highest, is that of a mother, of a wife. When I think of all the things I've accomplished because of my mother, Raquel, because of my wife, Maria, it is really something that I recognize. Because the stability that a woman brings, the love that she brings to our world, is what this world is lacking. So as we look at all the problems in the world, there are many solutions, many ideas, but the basic ones and the simple ones are the most powerful. As my good friend Dr. Hong has said, let's bring love and peace to the world. As my other good friend Mr. Hubbard has said, when man can fully trust each other, there will be peace on earth. And as someone who affected me so much as a child, Martin Luther King said, there's a dream, and let's all have that dream where all men reach the mountaintop. That mountaintop is for everyone and for all of us. And for Time for Truth show, have a very good night, and we'll see you again next time.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your feet